Welcome to On the Offense. We have a really exciting podcast planned for all of you today. Am I right, Jeffy? Are we fired up?
Oh, you definitely are right. We've got a
Oh, yeah.
great guest and a great subject.
100%. Yes, including a very exciting guest who we will get to in a moment. Today, we are kicking off, well, we think it's a four-part podcast series. It may end up being two or three. We'll see how much ground we cover here around the topic of event marketing. So, why event marketing? Clients First is leading a grassroots organization called Team DFW. We're really proud of this, really excited about it. The mission of which is to help the local small business community here in DFW get their share of the World Cup pie, basically capitalize on the World Cup, which, as we all know, is coming to not just the States, but North America in June. But DFW will host more matches than any other city. So people in this region are really excited about it. And so we offer three services as part of Team BFW, each of which may end up being the topic of the subsequent podcast. One is PR for event marketing, two, social for event marketing, including influencers. And thirdly is digital marketing. I mean, you gather and okay, great, you get all these business cards. What do you do with them, right?
Mhm.
Or names or what have you. What do you do with them after the fact to make sure that all these extra people that you've captured in the short term for the matches, that you can continue to build them into your customer base and nurture them over time? All of that kind of stuff. So, and all of those podcasts will lead into the beginning of the World Cup, which is scheduled for June 12th, he said, Jeff? June 12th.
Yes, June 12th.
So if we are going to dive into event marketing, who better to help drive an interesting and hopefully helpful discussion than an event marketer, an experienced, seasoned pro in all things event marketing, uh, and also someone who happens to be a card carrying member of the Clients First Network. I'm sure you wear that badge proudly, Andrea. So I am
You got
thrilled
it.
to introduce yeah, Andrea Dahlberg, who runs an event marketing company out of La Jolla called Two Pints Marketing. La Jolla, right? Not as opposed
Yeah,
to San Diego.
yeah.
Um, Andrea and I have known each other since business school, way back when, at the greatest university in the world. That would be the University of Southern California.
Oh,
Um,
John, stop it.
I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. But Andrea is a very proud undergraduate grad of the new national champion University of Michigan Wolverines. Go Blue!
Go blue.
So we were fast friends in business school, remain friends today. And Andrea, it is an absolute delight to welcome you to On the Offense. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and a little bit about Two Pints Marketing?
Yeah. So thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here with both of you guys. Your experience is vast and tons to offer. My background is in product management.
Right.
And whereas for many years, I worked on the internal side of marketing. And then I realized that it's nice to get out there, and, get the product out to the customer. And so I switched to doing external marketing. And for about the past 10 years, I've been specializing in digital marketing, for events and small businesses, in my community, and, and outside as well. I do some teaching for digital marketing, which a lot of it is about, and this is kind of what you guys do, is that you customize things for your audience.
Right.
And you see what it is that the audience needs. And for a lot of small businesses, some of them can do it on their own. It makes better sense for them to take steps on their own, and so I teach them. That. But there are bigger events and, ways to capitalize, especially for nonprofits, and small businesses, how they can come together. So for the past let's see, for the past 18 years, I've been involved with a local art festival, and I was the executive director of that for about 7 years, and it was a yearly event that brings in 40 to 50,000 people over 2 days, and it is also a nonprofit. So I've seen events from planning and from promoting them, and they're a lot of fun to do. It's great to not only help the small business, but to raise money for needed areas, and to see the community grow. So
Mhm.
it's fun to work with people in that space.
Okay.
And you are a native San Diegan, I believe, right?
I am. I know where we're all living too. So yeah, some people, a lot of people say, "Oh, you never know. It's hard to find the natives," but I know where we all are hiding. So
Exactly. Exactly.
uh,
What a great, you're going to tell me right now it's yet another 73 degrees, maybe cloud, maybe a little marine layer in the morning, burning off at lunch. How's the weather in San Diego today?
no, the weather here has been amazing this year. I mean, we've been having summer all winter.
Wow.
So February and March were great months. We have rain. It comes for about 5 minutes at about 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. So we welcome more and more rain, but this year there have been numerous green flashes. There was a great one last night, amazing sunsets. It's
Oh,
really been pretty ideal. Lots
wow.
of tourism. So
Jeff, we're talking, this is God's country. We're talking about
yeah.
California, Jeff.
Oh, I know. And Andrea, we have a really great friend who lives out there, who my wife has known for years, who she met when her dad was stationed in Korea.
Oh
So
wow,
when they first met, she didn't speak any English, but she got adopted by a U.S. military family. And
that's great.
Lori, my wife, and Hasia have been friends, since they were 4 or 5 years old. So we
That's
go
neat.
out to visit them. They live in Carlsbad.
Perfect.
Spent a lot of time in La Jolla, which is just a wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful place. And we really have an
Oh,
affinity for Southern California.
Well,
yeah, it's
Carlsbad has
spectacular.
been seeing enormous growth,
Uh-huh.
and especially the community. And the community is doing a great job of bringing growth to that area and to its residents. So
I
And,
love it.
it's a
and
treat.
by the way, John and I are both rivals of Michigan. I went to Penn State.
Okay,
He went to Southern Cal, and so there you go.
hey, at
We're
the end of the
natural
day,
rivals.
they're all great places to see the games, huh? They
Yes,
all have good
yes,
fan
Oh, yeah.
bases.
And we are suspending all rivalry ship today, though. We are,
I
we
agree
are,
that.
I say go blue, baby. That's what I say. So,
Keep
Jeff,
that on.
why don't we turn it over to you? I'm sure you have some questions. I have some questions as well. And let's get into a fulsome discussion. I turn it over to you.
Yeah, yeah. Then I welcome that. I mean, let me start out with my impression of great marketing events. For me, if you go to an event, something that's been done by a great event marketer or a company that sponsors something, for me, the event has to be interesting and more than anything else, engaging and memorable. And if it is, we're going to all recognize that and we're going to want to come back and we're going to want to buy the product of this product or services of this very legitimate company that spent lots of money, lots of time putting on what ends up to be an entertaining, educational, and memorable event. And there comes a few that come to my mind. Over the years, Laurie and I went to a wine and chocolate pairing event that
Ooh,
that was fantastic. It was sponsored by Ameriprise. That's where our broker was. And then Riedel, they had Maximilian Riedel, who's now president of that company. And it was amazing. It was amazing. So we left there with a knowledge of what wine glasses work best, what chocolates to pair with the wines. And this guy was super engaging. And to this day, we have a good knowledge of what makes a good wine glass. It tastes better with a big one with a red, smaller one with a white, and the difference if he serves it to you in a styrofoam cup. So, it was very engaging, and we think of this stuff all the time. So, from that, we would love your perspective on what makes a great event from an event marketing standpoint.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. I think it's got to be engaging and interesting, and it's got to meet your attendee at where they're coming in.
Mm,
I think there's two things to consider: is if it's a free event or if it's a paid event. If it's a paid event, then your attendee knows you know what they know what they're getting, or they know what they're looking for, because they are,
Mhm.
there's an interest there already since they bought the ticket. If it's a free event, you're casting a wider net, and you want to make sure
mm,
then that you're meeting people in a variety of different places, so that there is interactive art for them. So, say for example, I work on this art festival.
Mhm.
Not only are there artists there, but we want to make, there's 100 artists, but we want to make sure that there are artists of different price points, so that somebody can come in and buy a $10,000 piece, but they can also come away with $100 piece.
mm,
And so that way, the attendee, they're seeing that there's something there for them at, at what they feel comfortable with. In addition, we'll have interactive art so that people can, as they're walking around, there's something that they can stop and do and learn and see
mm,
what's going on. We will have roving entertainment. Again, it's something so that people feel people want to feel that they are, whether it's free or even paid, that they're getting their money's worth.
Mhm.
And so you want to have these activities and engaging. And even, and you were talking about for the World Cup, by having these small businesses involved, what we've seen, I work on an event. It's an Oktoberfest event that takes place in La Mesa, which is a community in
Mhm.
San Diego, and as a way to, the weeks prior, as a way for us to drum up business, but also to spread the wealth throughout the community. We have several Stein holding contests that go on in different bars. And so,
huh,
3 weeks out, it takes place in, bar A, then 2 weeks out, there's another Stein contest in bar B. And then, 3 weeks
huh,
out, or, 1 week out. So this contest keeps going on. And then all the winners of the different, at the different bars, then they come to the grand championship Stein holding contest that takes place at our event. And so what we've done is we've spread
huh,
people, throughout the community, throughout the different bars, but then we bring them all together at the event, and then there's, a grand prize. But it gets, so the people who are participating in the contest, they're psyched about it, but those things are also really engaging to watch. So even if you're not participating, you feel that you're getting something out of it. Meanwhile, you're spending money in the bar, buying your beers, and so therefore it reaches out to everybody.
That's great. And in fact, we went to an Oktoberfest festival here, Addison, a little town. It's not a little town, big town,
Yeah.
south of here. Has these festivals every year, like Taste of
yeah,
Addison, Oktoberfest. They have a huge fireworks show. And the Oktoberfest was incredibly engaging. You got
Yeah.
there, you saw guys in later hosen and heard this accordion music and beer was flowing. The smell of bratwurst was wafting through the air, and we thought this was great. And
Yeah.
um, and then you go into a tent where you can drink the Polliner beer because that was who the sponsor was, and eat the sausages, and it was a great event and it's memorable. And we went out and we bought Polliner beer. I would have never thought to do that, but it was a great beer. So
I,
that, to me, they engaged us, which was
Yes.
so powerful. And
I just
obviously,
want
what
to
you were
hear.
talking about engaged those people.
I just want to hear you say the word Lederhosen again.
Lederhosen.
Later.
Or is it Lederhosen? No, it's
No,
I
Lederhosen.
think
Lederhosen.
it's not Lederhosen.
I think it
I
is
thought it was
later
later.
Wednesday. I think it's, I don't know, but so you're, I don't know. Later, who's,
But what is it? The what the women wear is called has a name as well. We'll think of it.
They were wearing those. Whatever they were, they were wearing
whatever,
those.
whatever they were. So more experiential is what I'm hearing,
Yeah,
right?
I think that's it, because it makes it memorable. And it doesn't have to be an expensive. People are looking for the experience. That's what gives them kind of their core memory. They want it either for themselves or who they've come with. They want, to take that picture of themselves. And people get into
Yeah.
whatever the event is. So, like at the October Fest, with the VIP ticket that we sell, you get either a flower crown or a felt hat or a chicken hat. I'm not sure why the chicken hats are popular, but people are wearing them all throughout the festival. As you're sitting there drinking the beer, eating the brats, having the giant pretzels, there are, like games on the community table. So people are playing like the giant Jenga,
Yeah.
or they
Yeah.
also do this like stacking of cups at Oktoberfest. So it's not, it doesn't, you are still promoting what it is that makes you money, but people are having a good time and they want to spend the day there. And then they want to, more importantly, they tell their friend about it and they may come back
Exactly.
the next day or they'll remember it for the next year. So it's that word of mouth is huge.
Well, word of mouth and social, right? And
Yeah,
I mean, it's every photo that's shared is an ad essentially for, hey, come out to the event, right?
exactly. If they
Okay.
post it in their stories, like, oh, look at me, then you're like, oh, I can still get down there.
Right. Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly. Let's okay. May I ask a question, Jeff?
of course.
Okay.
Of course, John.
Let's. Here's where I'm going to pull out my traditional prop. Okay.
No.
Okay. So my question is, and it's a bit of a leading question. Totally switching gears? Are large trade shows still worth the investment? Right. Bit of a leading
Great
question.
question.
So a client of ours, of Clients First, in the medical device industry earlier this year, did a big trade show out in Anaheim, and it was a really big deal for them. But it also was fairly targeted toward. It was targeted toward where they are in the medical device business, right?
Mhm.
I'm talking about things like Comdex and these gigantic, right? Now, what's the one that still happens in Vegas, like the first 10 days of January, the consumer CES?
CES,
Yes,
yeah.
CES.
It's almost
Good work.
shocking to me that that still happens. So here's my prop. Okay, I don't know if you'd be able to read this or not. So how EDS stole the nation's biggest trade show. Can you guys see that?
I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
it's
Right.
great.
So this was like well, before the call started, I was telling you, Andrea, that Jeff and I had met at EDS, and this is 2000. This was 2001 Comdex. And back then, Comdex was huge. It was
Huge.
everything for those in the IT business. And we went nuts. We went berserk and we literally took over the entire show. And I'm still not sure we're quite recovered from it. I mean, it was 24/7 for weeks, and it went perfectly. The I don't remember what the KPIs were, honestly. I'm sure we got business out of it, but the earned media we got was unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Right. And we just went nuts, right?
Well, and
But
our CEO was the first technology services company CEO to ever give a keynote there. So that was a
that's right.
big deal.
Oh, wow.
That's exactly right. But the more I don't know, I've been looking around at it, and it seems to me that large trade shows like that are declining or at least evolving. Digital marketing is so much more targeted, so much more cost effective. I mean, these smaller, more intimate, more experiential events seem to be more worth the investment to me. I mean, Comdex, I don't even think it exists anymore, right? What do you
I
think
don't know if
about
it does.
what do you think about giant shows like that? And that medical device thing was in the Anaheim Convention Center, still a pretty big trade show, but not gigantic and cross industry like Comdex. What do you think about that?
Well, but I guess so. Here, I have a question back at you then. So a trade show, so that is a giant one, but also your industry could have a standalone industry could have a trade show that is of
Mhm.
Yeah.
value.
Yeah.
And to them, that I think they would consider that a big trade show.
Good
It's
point.
not on the scale of Comdex
Good
or
point.
CES, but um, and and I'm surprised. So I'm somewhat surprised that those are effective. So I think that as these industries have them, that they can be very beneficial. And in the same way that maybe Condex was, in that it's bringing people together to one central place so that you can have meetings, you can see what is out there, as well as have meetings with other people who maybe are all coming together. So I think that still having that face, so life is a little different pre and post pandemic, in that as we're doing here on, on Zoom, but there is still a huge value to the face to face. And I think that people are,
Yeah.
as there is a value to having the Zoom, but going in person, um, to a trade show like that can be of value. So I think that there's where I've seen them really work is kind of in their industry silo,
Mhm.
and bringing people together. But I still think they need to be engaging. And because whoever is putting on that trade show, there are certain messages they want to get across.
Right.
And they have to, it has to be memorable and informative, and bring the engaging. I just don't think they need to go for like the 10 days, but you have South by Southwest. I mean, that, do
Good
you
point.
consider that a big trade show?
Well, that's a great point
Huge,
and a great question. I don't know if I consider that a so-called trade show. It's almost bigger than that to me. It's entertainment.
right?
Yeah, what
You
would you
got
call
you got
South by South? It's almost like like a cultural festival to me.
it is, and they've got big name bands that play there, and all these people are innovative in the entertainment field, but everything else too. So it's beyond the typical trade show. It happens all over Austin, and if you're on 6th Street, there will be South by Southwest activity there, and wherever you go. So to me, that's bigger than a trade show. That's kind of like a
The
cultural
people,
event.
yeah, people come from all around to go to it.
Everywhere.
We
Everywhere.
have Comic-Con in San Diego.
Oh, right. That's
Huge.
right.
Um, and I also think the value of going to those things is just to see what it may not even be in your business, but just to see what everybody else is
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
And then you look, isn't stealing in some aspects the greatest form of flattery? Like you see, like, how people are laying out their banners, or,
Yeah.
they're using street stickers now, or it, they seem like a great melting pot for lots of ideas.
I totally agree. And if I oh, you're still there? Yeah. If I think back at this thing in Anaheim, our client did. They looked at it as a platform to make news, because the everyone in the industry is there, including journalists. Certainly, as a platform, to your point, face to face is always important. One would hope, right?
Yes.
God help us if that's not important at all anymore. So lots of meetings set up in the booth and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, no, this makes sense to me. Here's one: Burning Man.
Oh my
What
God,
is up
Burning
with
Man.
Burning Man?
Burning Man,
Okay, so
yes.
What is?
I do.
What is the situation with Burning?
I don't know, but there's a lot of good idea generation that comes out of it. Um,
Okay. Oh, that's
I
interesting.
so one of the so as we put on events, I work with a producer who does all the back end work, and she frequently visits
Oh,
Burning Man to get ideas.
huh.
And because at the end of the day, we're all trying to go bigger and capture those eyes as people come in, and you get a lot of great ideas there.
I think that's
I
that's a great point.
I not only do I accept that, but Jeffy, I am issuing a challenge right now.
Okay.
You and I are not only are you and I going to Burning Man, but you and I are going to do a podcast from Burning Man. Are you
Hey,
in?
I'm up for it. I'm up for it.
Okay,
Sure.
let's compromise. Burning Man or Coachella?
You
Can it be
need to
Coachella?
plan your festival attire, though. What your festival wardrobe is very
Yeah.
important.
All right, so you and I will have to negotiate offline about which one of those three Southern California events we're going to do a podcast from someday.
That would be good.
Someday. Jeff, over to you for the next question.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? A couple of other events I've been to, and you talked about you could do it on a small scale. Um, I talked about that Oktoberfest. I talked about the wine and chocolate pairing thing. And I would say that wine and chocolate pairing thing didn't take a lot of investment. Maybe they invested a lot to get Maximilian Riedel to come there, but really it was just, renting out this medium-sized room, stacking chairs in there. And, Maximilian, it was actually very funny and very engaging. So to me, that was not a high cost investment, but I think it was a high return investment. Is that the type of thing that you talked about where they don't have to cost a lot of money if they produce the results you want?
Exactly. I think that yes, you don't, it doesn't need to cost a lot. And I think that that is what the person putting on the event needs to, but they need to really think about that.
Hmm.
So, for example, we do events on city property, and that is in San Diego, that's very expensive.
Huh.
San Diego's having a budget crisis. And so all of the, to rent is to get police and fire and to rent a street, it really adds up. So I think if where you're going to have your event, there needs to be careful consideration put into that. You can easily then move it though to the rec center that is right next to the street, and it's still outside, but it's not on city property. You're then on, private property
Mm.
where you can bring in your own security. You can bring in, there isn't a requirement for how many porta potties to people, or there's different, since you're on private property, then there are different rules, and that can then make it much more affordable.
What a great point.
um
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
great point.
That
Yeah,
is a really great point. I'd bring up, before we started this call, we were talking about different events and music festivals and everything else. And I brought up Woodstock 2, which was like an anniversary event that was supposed to recreate the feel of Woodstock 1. And you talk about porta potties. They had plenty, but not too many people used them. So that was seen as one of the failures out of that event. But yeah, great points. Great
that
points.
sounds like user error to me more than
Yeah.
anything.
Oh yeah, user error.
User error.
And it
So,
wasn't popular in the community, just so you know that.
I'm sure. Um, let's talk about measurement. What what's the definition of a successful event? I mean, I guess it depends on what your KPIs are, right? I would think that you'd want some element of engagement. What kind of earned media did you get out of it? What kind of social did you get out of it? What kind of shareable content did you get out of it? Did you get a lot of UGC, stuff like that? But then there's also the acquisition piece, right? How many qualified leads? How many deals did you actually sign in the back room, right? I guess that's more of a trade show
Yeah.
comment, right? But you know what I mean? Like, or maybe for a wine festival, it's like, well, how many bottles of
How
wine
many
did you sell?
bottles of wine did you sell?
Right.
How many
I mean,
boxes of chocolate did you sell as a result of this?
yeah, I'm assuming it's a mix of all of that. Does that make sense? Like, what makes a
Yeah.
successful event ultimately? At
Well,
least
I think
most
that,
commonly.
yeah. I think that comes down to whoever's putting on the event then, like what it is. So what it is that makes it successful to them. So for example, I'm working on a car show, a weekend, a 3-day weekend, a 3-day car show taking place this weekend.
Hmm.
And there's a variety of stakeholders involved, and they each have a different measure of success.
Hmm.
So one of the stakeholders, his measure of success is what are the cars that I'm going to have there. So it's a very high end car show. And so for this, and this is its 20th year, for it to continue, it needs to be seen as attracting the cream of the crop of the cars. Um, so so that person, that is what his measurement is. Um, the producer of the show, it's all about ticket sales.
Hmm.
So it's, how much money am I bringing in? What are the ticket sales? The producer has hired a social media company in the last week, and all that they want to do is to gather names and emails.
Hmm. Yeah.
And this, I so that's what they're measuring as success. But however, the person who employs them wants the ticket sales. And so there's a little
Hmm.
bit of there's a conflict there. And that's
Yeah.
where I think that whatever the measurement of success is, it needs to be defined early on such that everybody is on board with what you're aiming for and what it
Great
is you're
point.
trying to do, so that all your strategy lines up to that, so that your marketing is going towards that. So initially the marketing goes towards looking for these types of cars, and then once we have that registration filled, then the marketing switches to bringing people in and selling VIP tickets.
Hmm.
So we know through this 4, 5, 6 month process, we know exactly what we're doing each month to get to each of the different goals that have been defined.
Hmm. I
What a great answer. All these different cooks in the kitchen. How do you, uh-oh, a call coming in. Yeah, all these cooks in the kitchen, how do you keep them all happy? I guess a lot of it is, you're right, making sure everybody's on the same, in the same place up front with what the goals are, right? What were you going to say, Jeff?
I was going to say back when we were both at EDS, and the company sponsored a professional golf tournament, the Byron Nelson Championship. And every Friday of tournament week, that Friday night, we were at the Four Seasons. We would rent out a ballroom, and we'd get our top clients there, seated about 300 people in this ballroom, and we would have a top tier musical act. So we would have dinner for them, and we'd usually try to make it a surprise, but they were big names, maybe second tier as opposed to first at that time. But the first time was Hall and Oates, second time was Huey Lewis, The News, third time was Chicago, fourth time was Shaka Khan, and these were great events. And all of these clients who were always right, they were always right, came away from that thinking, wow, what a great event. I got to hang out on the golf course. I got to meet with my client executive, and I got a show, to go to in a little room with these folks. And that really stuck. Even with me, just being in the room with these bands where you can be 12 feet from them. That was a
That's
great
great.
event. And I think it was a smart thing to do. I know that one of them, we didn't tell them who was going to perform. We just dropped some hints, and that also worked pretty well.
That's
But
good.
What do you think about that? The surprise element, coming up with a great entertainer, and then just having a great time in a room with unlimited drinks.
That's what people are looking for, right? I mean, they want it totally feeds into me having an engaging, memorable experience,
Hmm.
which then
Yeah. 100
will bring them back.
Yep.
That's right. That's right. Great way to cement the relationship in that case, right? I have one final question for Andrea. Jeff, do you have any other questions?
No, that was good. Well, you know what? I have a somewhat of a question with regard to swag. Um,
Ah, good
at
one.
our tournament, we had a lot of swag, and we had some other vendors and stuff that we had business relationships with. We had one of the sunglass companies there that gave out, free high-end sunglasses and different tchotchkes. How important is that? And the fact that with that Byron Nelson Championship, every time they advertised it, it was the EBS Byron Nelson Championship. So, these companies that typically wouldn't be doing consumer advertising, we had big companies and organizations that we were targeting, and golf was a great audience for that. But, the value of that from an advertising perspective, I thought was fantastic. And having tchotchkes they could walk away with that they'd enjoy, I thought that was great too. What's your perspective on the swag they can take away and having your name attached to one of these big events?
Yeah, I think it can be really big. And I guess I think it comes down to each individual sponsor and what they're looking to get out of it. So at one event, we have a local toy company who has sponsored it for 15 years. And he doesn't care about the social media postings. He just wants a certain area of the event to be branded with his name. So, in all the press releases, on anything that goes out, in an email or even on the website, his area is branded with the toy company's name. And so, while that's not swag, to
Mhm.
him, that's what he wants. Nowadays, at like kind of at your wine and chocolate festival, there was a take home glass. There's often
Right.
the name branded on the glass.
We got
Um,
two take-home glasses and a box of chocolates, which was great.
exactly. Yeah, and so you keep those glasses. I have a series of glasses, and I will bring them out. Like if I'm outside or something, then you're reusing. The glasses are all plastic now or something, and so the reuse is there. So I think people like to receive this swag. You see often, um, um, what are they? The bags, like the reusable bags. Like if you go to the
Yeah,
grocery
Right.
store,
Right.
right.
or I mean, I think that Lululemon started that with giving you the bag when you bought something, and so you're using that bag then as you're going everywhere and you need to put stuff in. So the branding is great on that. And if you can land on a tchotchke that is really useful, in every day, then the reuse is enormous. So I think there's huge value in it. People love getting it. It just is trying to find what is that right item.
Great. John, you had a question. I'm sorry
I'm not,
for jumping in.
no, that was a really good one. I guess the final question is, let's just, I don't know, you are a city or a company thinking about doing an event, right? Um, I mean, a city, any city can host, the St. Louis Wine Festival or whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
If you're a city trying to thinking about something like that, or if you're a company that you want to maybe sponsor an event that's happening somewhere, what's your advice for them? I mean, maybe three. We always try to leave our viewers with a couple of helpful hints, right? I mean, clearly, understanding what the goals are early on seems important. But do you have any advice for cities or companies wanting to get into the event marketing business? Maybe just a couple of things.
Wow, that's you go from big to small with cities or companies. Um,
Yeah, I don't
I
know. I
think
mean,
um,
general hints, for before you, especially if you're dipping your toe in for the first time.
Mhm.
so. I think on so I'll give you a big response and then a really narrow answer too. But I think that community is really important. And whether it's
Mm,
a community, whether it's the team that's working on it, or, if it's a city that you're involving the community, in the planning such that they feel invested, or
mm,
if it's that you're working on this car show and you are finding people in that community who are all car enthusiasts. So they have something that brings people together, such that they can, work on an event that they believe in the cause. So I think that
mhm,
community can be really helpful. And then the community will, in terms of a city, the community then will support the event and they'll do what is needed, to get the event going. I think on the micro level, uh, I think, well, communication is always, I think, huge. But I think you need to understand what your vendors are doing. I think that if you are
mm,
hiring a digital marketing company, or if you're hiring, um, somebody to be a producer, you are going to be the best advocate for what it is you're trying to do. And so you therefore then need to understand what the deliverables are. So for
mm,
example, when I had mentioned that the social media company that this car show has hired, that their goals are different, somebody needs to step in and by understanding what's going on and make sure that the right goals are being met. And I see too often people will willingly turn over control to other aspects and not understand it. And then I think that reaching out to other experts in the area for, if you have a city or a company, um,
mm.
if you're unsure of um, what is the latest and greatest in terms of events, what's going to be engaging, start to look out there, reach out to other people who are in the industry, and listen to them and see what they may have to offer.
I mean,
I don't know, that's kind of a hard question.
yeah. Well, you answered it with a plum. And, here's my answer: hire 2 Pints Marketing.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds good.
That
That's
is
an
my
easy one.
answer to the question, and let Andrea Dahlberg figure it out for you because she is an expert. She's also a wonderful person, and
Thank
it
you.
is so great to see you.
Thank you. My
And
pleasure.
what a great discussion. We're proud to have you in our network as a partner, and we invite you to join us at either Stagecoach, Burning Man,
Or
or
Coachella.
something
Or
something
Coachella.
Coachella.
Way to
Uh,
go.
I mean, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
So
Or
anyway,
South by Southwest. There's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
down
South
there
by
too.
Southwest. Actually, that would be probably easier for us to get to. But anyway, thank you, thank you, thank you, Jeff. Can you do our
Our wrap
normal
up.
wrap up commercial?
Absolutely. And we enjoy doing this and we really love the fact that people are tuning in more and more when we hope to give you information that's relevant. And you can look us up on our website, which is improving all the time at clientsfirstmc.com. Or you can see us on any of the social channels you can think of. We've got a presence there. I would sign off with that. Again, thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a great audience. And please, please, please consider us for your business.
All good. Go blue.
Go
Thank you,
blue.
Andrea. See y'all
Take care,
later.
guys.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye.